Hi everyone. Hope you're all doing good. Okay, so this is the third round draw of the Tapology Lucky Bastard Game 33rd edition. Um, so last time we had 21 people in it, and after eliminating just under half the field, we are now left with 11, which to be honest, judging by recent games, seems to be about average. Usually down to between 9 and 11 at this point, uh, with a field size of about 30s and 40s. But anyway, so just to run through the 11 remaining lucky bastards, they are Bellatrix, Calfox, Damien Handel 420, El Guapo, our running commentator, KK Kombu, Cushy Cake, Piggy Bank, me, Steve Terry, your host, the MMA historian, Trail Orman, and ex-con Chris. So, um, they're the 11 remaining lucky bastards left in the game. And for this third round, we have one of the best cards of the year, in my opinion. We have the former lightweight, or not former, he still is champion, but I mean the lightweight champion. Let's be honest, he's not going back down to lightweight, is he? Let's be honest. We all saw him at the weigh-ins. There's no way he's making 155 again. But anyway, it's Jack Della Maddalena, our new welterweight champion, defending his belt against Islam Makhachev, who's jumping up from lightweight, of course. In an attempt to become a double champion, and to be honest, I do think Islam's going to win this fairly comfortably. And if I'm being completely honest, I think it's firstly, I just want to extend my condolences to Jack Della Maddalena. Well done on becoming the UFC champion. That's incredible. But can you imagine? Put yourself in Jack's shoes here. You've worked hard. You've uh, become the worldweight champion. You've beaten Bilal Muhammad, who is a very worthy champion, a very unpopular champion amongst a lot of the UFC fan base. And for your first title defense, you have got arguably the pound for pound best fighter in the sport, jumping up to become a double champ. I mean, when I say arguably, the only other person I can think of is obviously Ilia Topuria, who's done the same thing with featherweight to lightweight. So if you're doing a pound for pound ranking of MMA fighters at the moment, it's debatable whether you'd have Tapuria or Makhachev as number one or two, but those two would have to be the top two. Anything else with that would just be objectively wrong, in my opinion. So, this is one of the toughest ever first defenses a champion's ever going to make of his belt of his title. And I don't think he's holding on to it. I think Islam Makhachev, I've got him to win by third round submission. He's proven himself to be completely dominant at lightweights. Obviously we'd have all liked to have seen that Tarsukian match play out, but to be honest, it's one of those fights that looks like that's just never going to happen. So probably the right time to just move on. Um, and I feel like it's a very strategic move from Makhachev because I feel like even though Jack beats Bilal Muhammad, um, I think Bilal Muhammad actually, style wise, would have presented a bigger challenge for Makhachev. I think it's obviously Madalena is a challenge, of course, but I just feel like style wise, it would have been a very interesting fight. I still have Makhachev to win, but it would have been a very interesting fight. And but I almost can't help but feel it's maybe the timing of this is great because from Makhachev's point of view, because he's got a welterweight champion holding the belt that he feels like he's got a very, very good chance of beating. Um, so it's a very, very tactical move, and yeah, I think it's going to pay off for him. Third round submission is what I've got for him. Um, but of course, that's not what you're here to listen to. You're here to see who you're getting drawn with for the Lucky Bastard game. Of course, just a reminder, we are back to normal rules as we were last week as well. So I know we mixed up for the first week, but we do need your fighters to win from here on in. So first to face the wheel is Bellatrix. Let's see what the wheel's got in store for Bellatrix. And the other title fight in this card, of course, Valentina Shevchenko versus Weili Zhang, and that's obviously who Bellatrix has got drawn with Valentina Shevchenko. I've no idea how you're going to spell this. Shevchenko is. Did you like the footballer Andre Shevchenko? Old Chelsea player. I don't know, but anyway, I know who I mean. Right. Um, yeah. So of course, Valentina Shevchenko for Bellatrix there. Obviously Valentina is the two-time UFC flyweight, women's flyweight champion. Uh, this is her second time as the champion. In her first run, she defended the belt 7 times. Defended this one once, I believe, and yeah, it's so there's no real question in my mind that at women's flyweights, greatest of all time is Shevchenko. Um, that's for my money. And having said that, if you ask me who the greatest strawweight fighter of all time is, I'd be tempted to say Weili Zhang, and that just so happens to be who Shevchenko is fighting. Zhang jumping up from strawweight to flyweight. Zhang herself, a two-time UFC strawweight champion. Um, obviously, they've both shown themselves to be extremely dangerous uh, in all aspects of MMA. Really, they're both extremely well-rounded, absolute top of the sport. And yeah, this is the biggest women's fight that can be made in MMA right now. It's and because of that, I'm expecting this to be a fairly cautious approach. I'm not expecting this to be an absolute war. Hope it is. I'd love to be proved wrong, but given what's at stake and how good the other one is, they're going to have a lot of respect for each other, I feel. And I think it's going to be more of a chess match than an out and out war. I think it's going to be a very tactical fight. I think it's going to be um, both fighters will be obviously trying to win every single round, but more to the point, trying not to lose the round or not even be perceived as having lost the round. So I don't think we'd be taking any unnecessary risks here, either fighter. Um, so who wins? I've got Shevchenko by a decision. That's my prediction for that one. I just feel like it's she just she's more used to this weight, of course. Experience wise, there's not really much in it. Again, it's probably just the fact that she's sort of been at flyweight for so long now. It's that's really the basis of it, and uh, yeah, of picking for it because to be honest, because strawweight's a deeper division than flyweight. Let's be honest, and so you'd argue that Zhang's got the better fighters on her resume. The only real marks on her record, obviously, the two losses to Rose Namajunas, the head kick and the decision. But it's and besides that, it's Bo Meng back on her debut, back over in the Chinese regional one. So that's not really relevant in this day and age. I mean, it's a great cap in the feather of Bo Meng, of course, but it's not doesn't have much bearing on this particular fight, is what I'm saying. But yeah, it's a very close fight either way. I wouldn't be surprised as to what happens. I just expecting a more cautious fight, and I think Shevchenko's going to get the upper hand here. But even though I've gone with Shevchenko, Bellatrix has really been thrown into a high stakes 50-50 battle here. Um, definitely could have been worse because there's definitely some big underdogs that people are going to want to avoid, or further down the card, of course. But yeah, this is a bit of a gamble. But I think it's one that will pay off for Bellatrix anyway. So could be better, could be worse. But you've got one of the most experienced fighters in the game on your side, so I suppose that's about best you can wish for. It's just a shame that in the other corner is also one of the most experienced fighters in MMA as well. Okay, so now we move on to Calfoth. Let's see who Calfoth is going to get drawn with. And Calfoth gets Chepe Mariscal. Chepe Mariscal for Calfoth there. Obviously up against Pat Sabatini. A bit further down the cards, I've got Sabatini to win by decision. Uh, Mariscal, to his credit, very great. Oh, it's perfect start. What was underselling him there? It's perfect UFC start, 5-0 in the promotion. Uh, Good amount of experience as well. 18-6 in his MMA career. Pat Sabatini, not too much different with a 20-5 record. Um, Sabatini's a little bit more experienced in the UFC, 7-2 in the UFC. So about four more fights under his belt there. But Mariscal is he's got knockout power, of course, but most of his UFC wins so far have been by decision. Makes me wonder, did he rack up the knockout wins on the regional scene? And as he's stepped up in competition to UFC level, that power's not quite translated to that level. And So that's my theory of it. But he's still getting the decision wins, so he's still proven that he can fight at that level and get wins at that level. So it's not as if he's losing fights or anything. Like I say, still unbeaten in the promotion. And Yeah, he's proven himself to be pretty decent on the grounds too. That's a point I will come to with Sabatini though. Part of the reason I've favoured Sabatini is because he's prefers to look for submissions and again he's proven he can go the distance as well. He's got the energy to stay with another fighter in there until the end, and he's got quite a lot of non-MMA grappling experience outside of MMA as well. So that's going to obviously that's going to count in his favour. Also counts against him, I suppose, because I mean you can argue that adds to the wear and tear of a fighter. Um, I suppose you can argue that both ways, but I think it's definitely going to work more in his favour. And I wouldn't be surprised if Sabatini gives Mariscal his first loss in the promotion. But it's going to be a tough fight from both of them. A close fight as well, but yeah, I just I think Sabatini's going to get it, going to get the judge's nod at the end of it. So obviously, Cal Foth, you're going to be hoping that my predictions are wrong. They often are, to be honest. So MMA is an unpredictable sport. So hopefully, for your sakes, I am wrong. And if nobody else gets drawn with Sabatini, well, then I hope I am wrong, so that you go through. Um, but anyway, we move on now to Damien Handel for 20. Let's see who the duck is going to be given by the wheel. He gets Michael Morales. Michael Morales for Damien Handel for 20. In what I like to refer to as the tertiary main event, the third one from the top after the main and co-main events. The highest non-title fight in this, Sean Brady versus Michael Morales. And what a fight this is for welterweight, because this is you can argue this is a title eliminator. Whoever wins the main event, of course, between Jack Della Maddalena and Islam Makhachev, could very well expect to have either Sean Brady or Morales or Michael Morales as their opponents um, for their next fight, defending the belt. And uh, it's a great night for welterweights as well, because obviously the one before that you got Leon Edwards versus Carlos Prates. So that's and there's a few more lower down in both middleweight and welterweight. So it's a good card for that division. But anyway, it's back to the Sean Brady fight. I've got him to win by second round submission. That's his bread and butter, really. That's what he doesn't try and hide the fact he's looking to submit you. He's looking to take it to the ground and he's looking to end it there too. Uh, he won by a guillotine choke against the aforementioned Leon Edwards there in his last fight. And I say Edwards is still very much at the top of the division. If he can do it to Edwards, he can do it to damn near anyone. Um, Morales, on the other hand, still unbeaten, 18 and 0. Obviously, Damien Handler's going to be hoping he makes it 19 and 0 after tomorrow night. Uh, he's the opposite. He prefers to keep the fight standing, generally. He's got the knockout power. That's going to be his main threat. Um, but obviously, we saw that in his last fight against Gilbert Burns, and winning by knockout on that occasion. And it's a complete clash of styles, really. And it's the old, well, it's like I say, it's the old grappler versus striker situation in MMA. The cliche as old as the sport itself. And in this case, I'm siding with the grappler. Got to go with someone that can choke you out or lock your locks up and all the rest of the diddly doodahs and all the rest of the stuff and all all the more finer aspects. I mean, he can turn you into a fucking pretzel. Let's be honest. So that's not saying it's going to be easy to turn Michael Morales of all people into a fucking pretzel, but if anyone can, Sean Brady's got the best chance, and wouldn't surprise me if at some point he does catch him in something. Yep, Sean Brady by second round submission is my pick for that one. And again, Damien Handel, like Cal Foster, also going to be hoping that I'm wrong with my pick. Um, right, El Guapo up next, always does amazing commentary on the after it to summarize the mayhem the wheel uh presents the game, and let's see what the wheel gives to him. Let's see what kind of mayhem El Guapo is going to be blessed with, or given, or cursed with, whatever the case may be. And I think it's the latter because he's got Eric McConico. I hope I pronounced that right. McConico, Eric McConico there for El Guapo. Um, right, there's no easy way of sugarcoating this. Massive underdog. Um, his opponent's biggest favorite on the card, Baysanger Surakayev. I hope I've pronounced that right. I probably haven't. Still undefeated, 10 and 0, won his UFC debut last time. Interestingly, his UFC debut he won by submission against it was a rear naked choke against Eric Nolan, and which is a complete contrast to what we normally expected from him. He's normally a knockout artist. He's normally prefers to keep it standing, prefers to knock his opponents out or try to, and usually succeeds. Um, Moicano, not Moicano, Moconico, sorry. Uh, again, he's he's a solid fighter. He's a well-rounded fighter. He's just simply not at the level of Baysanger Susurakev is at the moment. He's looking like a very good prospect, and Moconico is just this is a little bit of a mismatch. He's really been thrown into the deep ends here. Um, McConaughey 1-1 in the UFC himself. He won against Cody Brundage in his last fight, but let's be honest, everybody is beating Cody Brundage at middleweight these days. It's not uh, even though Brundage is still a bigger name than Eric Nolan. It's still uh, that's not enough to make me think, yeah, he's the one to derail the hype train. Because you just look at the bookmakers odds for this. It's Baysenga Surakaev is minus 1050. Um, in normal odds, that is converting it back to fractions, that is 110 or 10 to 1 on, or just worse than that, actually, somewhere between 1 to 10 to 1 to 11. It's not good odds at all. You get no value in that, which just reflects how highly expected he is. I haven't actually made a note of what McConaughey's odds were, but they'd easily be 500, 600, I'd have thought, plus 5 or 600. It's El Guapo's going to be leaving this game. I'm going to be honest. I really can't see any way Eric McConaughey wins this. I just can't. So I'm afraid we'll might be saying goodbye to El Guapo come the end of this round. Of course, for the record, I've got Susura Kev first round knockout, but I'll be surprised if there's any difficulty for him in this fight. Okay, KK Kombu hoping he gets well, not McConaughey, anyone but McConaughey. And he gets Matthias Camillo. Matthias Camillo there for KK Kombu. So obviously he's up against another one I'm going to struggle to pronounce the name of, Vyacheslav Borchaev. I'm so sorry. I know I've butchered that one. Um, Especially KK Kombu being from Russia himself. I'm assuming he can pronounce his name much, much better than I can. Uh, but anyway, I have got Matthias Camillo, the one he was drawn with, to win by a decision. Uh, Camillo lost his UFC debut to Gabe Green by submission, rear naked choke. It was all of his submissions have come by all of his losses have come by submission rather, and to me, I feel like the UFC almost still believe in him. I feel like they still think they could potentially have, if not a star, definitely a good fighter to fill out the prelims for future cards in Camilo. Because Borcha he's I feel like it. I've spoken about him before in the Lucky Bastard game, and every time I've spoken about him, I feel like it's been going to have been the last time we were going to be speaking about him because I am surprised he's not been cut yet, if I'm being completely honest, given how quick the UFC are to cut fighters these days. He's 3-5 in the promotion. And I'll stick with my guns on this. I think if he loses this, that will be the last time or at least for a long time, we will see him in the UFC. Because he's 8-6-1 in his MMA career overall. Respectable record, but it's not quite UFC level, let's be honest. When you've got a promotion that's meant to be the best of the best, this is not quite good enough, let's be honest. Um, I've gone with Camilo for a decision for this one. I don't actually feel there's a lot in it, to be honest. I don't feel like Camilo is much higher a level than Borshev because Borshev's a good fighter. He'd thrive on the regional scene. He'd rack up a whole series of wins against regional fighters. I feel like he's just at that awkward level between the top tier regional fighter and UFC level, lower UFC level fighter. Um, so yeah, it's I've gone with Camilo for a decision there because I feel like it's almost a case of the UFC saying, well, if you can't beat him, then you're not really cut out as being a promotion. So I see that more as the UFC throwing Camilo a bit of a lifeline because if they weren't interested in Camilo, they could have given him a much tougher opponent or fed him to a another up and comer. And then they'd have used the excuse, right now, okay, you're now 1 and 2 in the UFC, off you go. But not 1 and 2, 1-1 in the 0-2 rather, sorry, in the promotion. But I think he'll get through this one. Obviously, good news for KK Kombu. Okay, Cushy Cake is next to face the wheel. Let's have a look. Let's see who Cushy Cake is going to be facing, or being drawn with, rather. We're obviously working as a team with this fighter. And you get Angela Hill, UFC veteran Angela Hill. And well, I always love seeing Angela Hill on the card. I mean, she is a legend of the sport. Um, 13 and 15 in the UFC. So, okay, a losing UFC record, but that's insane to have 28 fights in the UFC. That is, I feel like that's from an era that we're not going to see anymore much, if I'm being completely honest. I feel like a lot of the, particularly a lot of the women's roster, that got in the UFC early, got in the, because bearing in mind, we've only really been having women in the UFC for the last 12 or so years. Um, it's still a relatively new phenomena. And I feel like a lot of the ladies that got in there early on, uh, that have managed to stay in the division, they've obviously been able to rack up a whole load of fights. And I feel like the UFC's been more patient with them, more forgiving for them, because obviously um, women's MMA has still been developing massively over the last 10, 12 years. And because of that, even at regional level, you see it now. Women's divisions across the board are much deeper than they were a decade ago. So I feel like there's definitely more competition for amongst women for positions in the UFC. Uh, so I think if someone had Angela Hill's career play out the way it has and join the UFC now, I don't think they'd still be in the UFC in a decade's time. So, but that is obviously I'm obviously this isn't a knock against Angela Hill, of course, personally, because there's a few others that spring to mind as well. There's Tasha Pennington as well. There's one of my personal favourites, Randa Marcos, was always in the in that conversation. There's a lot of fighters, yeah, Angela Lee as well, Angela KGB Lee. There's a lot of fighters that fall under the category of veterans because they were the best um, when it was a slightly shallower division. But anyway, what I'm basically getting at here is Angela Hill is UFC veteran. She's been there, done that, but she's well past her prime now. And most of her losses have been decision losses. Uh, most of them have been over the distance, so she's very hard to finish. Never been knocked out. Uh, she's been submitted a couple of times, but that's it. And so she's a very, very tough fighter, which is partly why she stayed around so long. When I was talking about the reason she stayed in the UFC is yes, it was still a shallower division, but she was still very, very competitive in that division. But she's up against Fatima McCline, who is the new generation. Really, it's just the way it is. 2-1 in the promotion, only 8-1 in her MMA career as well. And yeah, she's the exciting new toy the UFC have got to try and promote, and got quite a lot of knockout wins on her record, which the UFC love to see that. And th- that's not really going to help her because I can't see her knocking out Hill. Nobody has, and I certainly don't think that Fatima Klein is going to be the first to do that. Angela Hill is still, even now, she's if she's not winning fights necessarily, but she is still going the distance. She's still uh, getting the rounds in for the younger fighters, showing them the ropes a bit. A journey woman, basically, a journeyman or journeywoman, or whatever you prefer. A very noble role to play in the sport. It's absolutely crucial, in fact, for the sport. Um, but still think Klein's body of work in the fight is going to be better overall. She's going to be the one pushing the pace a bit more. Angela Hill, we can expect another very um very strategic. She'll obviously uh, I'd expect her to be quite defensive, especially against someone who's going to be a little bit more gun ho, a little bit more trying to look for the knockouts. So yeah, I can't see Angela Hill getting the win here. Um, and she's 40 years old now as well. And as I was saying about the young versus the old, there's a 15-year gap um, between these two fighters. Uh, so that's because Fatima Klein is 25. Um, to put that in perspective, Angela Hill was born 1985 and Fatima Klein was born in 2000. That's uh, the complete generational difference we're talking about here. Uh, so, um, yeah, not really much else I can say about that other than Angela Hill, absolute legend, and I hope you stay around for as long as you can because it's always great seeing you on the card. It's always nice to have a familiar face on the card that um, an old fan favorite. Basically, it's quite comforting to see that. Um, I'd rather have that than a lot more of unfamiliars that end up getting cut after maybe 4 or 5 fights. So it's nice to have long-term UFC fighters that we can come to love, which we have with you, Hill. But I just don't think you're winning this one. And in the Lucky Bastard game, that's all that matters. So I think Cushy Cake's going to be going out here. Okay, so we move on to Piggy Bank now. Let's see who Piggy Bank gets drawn with. And Piggy Bank also gets Valentina Shevchenko. So that is the first double up of the game. Piggy Bank with Valentina Shevchenko. Obviously, Bellatrix also was drawn with Valentina Shevchenko earlier. And as I said earlier, it's a very close fight. It's the biggest fight that can be made in women's MMA right now. And I can't wait for it. Uh, I mean, if anything, it needs to be a very testament to how much improved women's MMA has been over the last 10, 12 years, as I was been saying. It's that decade of development of women being in the UFC. These are the fruits of that development. We get a great fight like this between two world-class athletes, uh, showing off the very best of their gender to class gender division. As for the fight itself, as I said, it's going to be. I'm expecting it rather to be a very tactical, very cautious approach from both fighters. Obviously, I hope I'm wrong, but that's why I'm. They both know how good the other is, and they're not going to be. Um, they'll take the chances when they present themselves. They're not. They're not going to be wasting chances. If an opportunity to finish or get into a dominating position comes up, they're going to take it, both of them. And they're both experienced enough to do that as well. If either of them makes a mistake, the other one will capitalize on it. And there's not going to be any room for error in this fight. Uh, but because of that, because they both know there's no room for error, they're going to be much more focused on not risking making those mistakes more than they might do against someone they perceive to be a slightly lesser opponent. Um, obviously he should be taking every opponent seriously, but it's a matter of fact that mentally fighters do treat tougher opponents with more respect, more caution than generally speaking uh than they would someone a bit lower down the rankings. But in that's sort of my main line of thinking for this really is in a tactical chess match, who's winning? And in if the fight plays out that way, I think Shevchenko is going to be the one getting the nod. Um, that's my prediction for that one. Um, we'll see because like I say, if either of them does make a mistake, it's the other one could finish them. So we'll see. We'll just have to wait and see, and I can't wait to find out. Okay, me, Steve Terry up next. Let's see who. Oh, let's see who I get drawn with. Just get back onto the. There we go. Let's see a bit of a slow spin for me. I get Kyle Dorcas. Uh, Kyle Dorcas. I hope I pronounced that one right as well. Um, yep. So that's quite a good pick because I've picked Kyle Dorcas to win by third round submission. This is his second stint in the promotion, 3-4 with one no contest if you want to count that. Uh, Across two stints in the UFC. This is obviously his first fight. Well, not first fight, but I mean second fight of his second stint. Um, Main threat by submission. That's his bread and butter. That's what he's going to look to do in the fight. He's going to try and look for openings to get a submission in, try and finish it to fight that way. Former CFFC champion as well in MMA. And again, and one thing I do like about CFFC is they also have a separate grappling division. I know that's something the UFC have started to do this year with their BJJ pit, but for years now, it's CFFC have been doing that. And quite a lot of the time, we've seen UFC fighters competing in grappling for the promotion. Uh, and it's because of that, it really allows their fighters to gain even more experience. Um, so obviously, he's got a few fights in their sort of in the CFFC sub promotion under his belt too. Up against UFC veteran Gerald Mersheret, of course, 12-12 in the UFC. 37-20 in his MMA career in total, which is absolutely insane to have in this day and age to have 57 fights. I can't see many modern fighters starting out the sport now having 57 fights in their career. If you're to start an MMA career in 2025, you're not, it's very unlikely having nearly 60 fights in your career. That is just nuts. And it's that again kind of goes back to an era when divisions were slightly shallower and fighters fought a little bit more often. The roster wasn't as stacked, and because of they didn't have as many fighters in the promotion, and that caused fighters to fight more often. So, like I was saying with Angela Hill, Gerald Mersheret is another one that falls under the category of a dying breed of fighter, and it's a shame to see these becoming rarer. These kind of records and these kind of fighters becoming rarer because they have a wealth of experience. Mersheret again, he's currently on a three-fight losing streak, but he can still be a submission threat. Because before that he was on I think it was a two-fight winning streak before that, and before that he was actually on another losing streak. And I thought that initial losing streak then was going to be the end of it. Then he pulled a couple back, and now he's on another one losing streak. But he's kept himself active. He's kept fighting as often as he can. Fair play to him for that, for keep getting into the cage and racking up the fights while he can. And Is he enough of a submission threat for Carl Dorcas? Not really, in my opinion. Prime Mercheret, even Mercheret from a couple of years ago, probably would have, but I don't think he's still got it to um for someone like Kyle these days. Again, fair play to him if he can prove me wrong. I'll be pleasantly surprised if he does, but of course, experience is where he's got the massive advantage. He's got the experience, the gamemanship, the knowledge, the it's it's yeah, he's just a few more old school tricks up his sleeve that Kyle Dorcas just won't have. But can he still apply them effectively in a fight? I don't know. I can't see it happening if I'm being completely honest. But for me, that's a good thing because I've got Kyle Dorcas, so I think I'm through to a fourth round. I don't even know if I've ever got to a fourth round before, so I certainly never won one of these. Um, but I think if I do, a fourth might be the furthest I've ever got. So who knows? Maybe this time's the time for me to win my own creation. Um, I've been in every single one of these games, obviously. Well, not actually, not true. Actually, I did forget to add myself one time. Can't remember what that was actually. So no, that's not. Forget what I just said there. That's not 100% true. I haven't got 100% participation rate because I do remember there was one time I was going through the list of names, making sure I added everyone, and I managed to forget my own for some reason. But so yeah, but I've been in basically all of them, and 32 of them is 33rd one now. I've created the game and never won it. It's just typical. Well, anyway, um, maybe this time, maybe this time will be my lucky time. Right. Okay, the MMA historian is next. Hoping he's not going to become MMA history. Find out in about 5 seconds. Let's see what the Will's got in store for the MMA historian. And he gets Tracy Cortez. Tracy Cortez for the MMA historian. And she's up against Erin Blanchfield, who, in my opinion, I think this is going to be a pretty standard unanimous decision win for Erin Blanchfield. We've seen that quite a lot. Most of her wins do come by decision. She does pose a very serious submission threat too. But I'm expecting it to be another another similar to performance to what we saw against Rose Namajunas last time out. Because um, I know Namajunas has had a little bit of mixed fortune since going up to flyweight, but she's still one of the best fighters around, one of the best women's fighters around. I think she probably should have stayed at strawweight. I don't actually know why she went up. I think she, um, but she has had a little bit of success there, to be fair. But anyway, back to well, Blanchfield. Well, that's pretty much all I can say about Blanchfield. Really, she's a very good fighter, very well rounded, and obviously, if she is going to finish the fight, it will most likely come by submission. But I don't think she's going to. I don't think it's going to happen. It's partly because obviously Tracy Cortez is a tough fighter herself, and that's I can't see Cortez being submitted by her. Um, because Cortez has got a very respectable 6-1 UFC record, a 12-2 in her MMA career. Um, and again, similar in terms of stats wise. Anyway, most of her wins ended up coming by a decision, and yeah, it's definitely going the distance, this one, and I can't see how Blanchfield does not get the nod from the judges when all's said and done. So the MMA historian, I'm afraid, might well be MMA history, but at least you'll get a good 15 minutes of action for your money, though. Okay, Trail Allman. is up next. Let's see who trail on. Let's see if he's on the trail to the fourth round. And he also gets Michael Morales. I don't think we've really got like a main event so far. Because obviously, I don't think we've got any head-to-heads so far. We've got a couple of double ups, Piggy Bank and Bellatrix with Valentina Shevchenko, and of course Damien Handel, and now Trail Allman, both with Michael Morales. And as I said earlier in that one, we've got Sean Brady to win by second round submission. And yeah, like I say, he's obviously beat uh, Edwards last time, and I think if he can beat if he but not just beat, but actually finish somebody who was very recently, still in very recent memory, a champion and a good champion at that. Obviously defended against uh Kamaru Usman the first time, and then obviously against Colby Covington as well. Uh, how Colby Covington kept getting title shots is going to be studied by historians in the future, I'm sure. But still, um, in any case, Leon Edwards still very much at the top of the division. So a win over him and a finish win over that is incredible. It's very very good feather in his cap. Morales still unbeaten though. That's the main thing. He's going to have the confidence of an unbeaten fight going into this. Uh, but again, it's the opposite styles, as I said earlier. He's going to want to keep it standing. He's going to try and have a boxing match or a kickboxing match anyway, and trying to not get taken to the ground. Because if he does get taken to the ground, I don't think there's really a whole lot he can offer. Sean Brady on the ground. If it does end up on the mat, that's Brady's fight. Um, so it's going to be um, I'd imagine a lot of Morales' trainings has just been stuffing takedowns, really. 'Cause just don't get taken down by Sean Brady, because if you do, you're in his territory and you don't want to be there. So, uh, I think it's yeah, I think this is going to be a relatively comfortable submission win for Sean Brady. So that's obviously bad news for Trey Lawman, and of course, was it Damien Handel was said just now that also had that had also had Michael Morales. Yeah, that's right. So I don't really know what's going to be our unless well, we've only got one more person to do now, ex-con Chris. So we've only had two fights with the one double up on each there. So it'll be a joint unofficial Lucky Bastard game main event in that case with the two double ups, no head to heads. Unless of course ex-con Chris gets either the women's flyweight fight or Sean Brady versus Michael Morales fight. But let's see what is in store for ex-con Chris. What has the wheel got for him this week? Oh, that gives us our head-to-head then, doesn't it? Erin Blanchfield. Uh, that is the first, as I mentioned, our double ups, but this is the first and only, will be the only, because that's the last person to draw, is head-to-head in this. Obviously, the MMA historian just now had Tracy Cortez, Erin Blanchfield's opponent, so it looks like that's going to be our main event. Erin Blanchfield versus Tracy Cortez. 1v1, ex-con Chris versus the MMA historian. So, ex-con Chris, as I've just been singing the praises of Blanchfield, and fuck it, I'll do it again. I'll sing her praises because she's consistently winning those decisions, and definitely, if either fighter is going to finish the fight, it's going to be Blanchfield by submission, and but not I can't see it happening, but simply because, as I said, Tracy Cortez is she's no she's not she's no joke either. She's a very serious force in the division, but just because you can't get finished doesn't mean you can't get beaten. And that's I think by the end of it, Blanchfield's work rate over the fights, she's going to have been the aggressor, been the one in the better positions. It's just going to, I think it's just definitely going to be her fight overall, the fight that she's controlled, the fight that she's managed, the fight that she's won. And obviously, ex-con Chris is going to be hoping that's the case as well. Uh, so I guess that's our Lucky Bastard Game main event. Erin Blanchfield versus Tracy Cortez, ex-con Chris versus the MMA historian. Um, and that concludes the third round draw for the 33rd edition of the Tapology Lucky Bastard game. One thing we can say about that one is given the number of times women's fights have come up, or at least the number of times, I think it's very much the ladies taking centre stage in this round. A lot of the depending how the women's fights go, it's going to be one that's women's MMA is going to have a huge factor in deciding the course of the game from here on out. So we'll just run through those names one more time. Just double check I've changed it to my Excel sheet here. Uh, there we go, perfect. Right. Okay, so um, just to confirm the who's been drawn with who, Bellatrix with Valentina Shevchenko, Cal Foth with Chepe Mariscal, Damien Handel 420 with Michael Morales, El Guapo with Eric McConico, KK Kombu with Mateus Camillo, Cushy Cake with Angela Hill, Piggy Bank also with women's flyweight champion Valentina Shevchenko, me, Steve Terry with Kyle Dorcas, the MMA historian with Tracy Cortez, Trey Allman with also with Michael Morales, and ex-con Chris with Erin Blanchfield. So that concludes the third round draw, and yeah, as I say, it's women fights are taking centre stage by the looks of it. Looking over it, there's probably maybe a 50-50 split between the men and the women, roughly, but usually the proportions of it are far less than that because obviously there's less women's fights on the UFC cards than there are men. So it's good to see a more 50-50 split. And women's fight being the unofficial main event, the only heads ahead in this one. Yeah, the ladies are going to have a big impact tomorrow night on who goes through in the game. Which I love the irony of it because the hype all week has just been about mostly about the Islam Makhachev. Even Jack Madalena has just been uh discredited, I feel, in a way, written off in some cases. But in any case, that's all the hype's been about the main event for the more casual fans, but for the hardcore lucky bastards like us, oh, it's all about the women's fights. And it's going to be, yeah, interesting to see. Ignoring all the other hype about the title, the main title fight, it's all your fates depends on, or a lot of your fates depend on the women's in this. So, yeah, take it away, ladies. Entertain us, and let's see who. Let's see how many you send through, how many you send out. But anyway, so it's all that leaves me to say is good luck to all of you in the game. Good luck to everyone on Tapology for their picks in this. You got any bets on this card? Good luck with those as well. And we'll see what happens over the course of the action and see where we are next week, really. Because, like I say, it just depends how the what cards you'll what the cards the MMA gods deal tomorrow night's event. But Anyway, there'll be some of you left in, I'm sure. So next time, I'm sure there'll be a fourth round. If not, it'll just be a new game anyway. But until next week, so long for now.